this morning to help us out.
Right.
Let's give you what we have on the table. And this is FCT Brief, and we are live from our studio here in Abuja. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. With over 220 million people and a fast-growing tech-savvy youth population, Nigeria is at a digital crossroad. But the promise of a fully connected nation depends heavily on broadband access and cybersecurity to protect it. According to the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, broadband penetration stood at 43.53% as at March 2025. That's a steady rise from the previous years, but it still falls short of the federal government's ambitious target of 70% penetration by the end of 2025, as outlined in the National Broadband Plan. Urban centers like Lagos and Abuja enjoy near high-speed internet and expanding 5G coverage. But in many rural areas, citizens are still stuck with poor or no connectivity, further widening the digital divide.
With connectivity comes vulnerability. Nigeria ranks among the top countries facing cybercrime threats in Africa. In response, the federal government launched the National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy aimed at protecting critical digital infrastructure and strengthening legal frameworks and also raising public awareness. Nigeria's digital economy is on the rise, but bridging the connectivity gap and securing the cyberspace remains an urgent task. Without inclusive broadband access and strong cybersecurity, the country risks leaving millions behind in the digital revolution. From e-commerce and fintech to digital governance, the nation is rapidly moving online. But how far have we come in terms of broadband penetration, and how secure is Nigeria's cyberspace? To help us answer some of these questions and bring clarity to our conversation today, we have joining us in the studio the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. It's good to have you in our studio this morning.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure. Well, let's start this way. Internet access remains a very big issue, and especially in the rural communities as we have it. What concrete step is the ministry taking to bridge the digital divide and ensure that rural communities can get access to broadband?
Thank you so much. I think I'd like to start first by speaking more broadly about Nigeria as a country. You know, we're a nation that has been described as a country of potentials for many, many times. And the biggest challenge is how do we move from potential to performance? I think that's the uniqueness of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, that we can't continue to just talk about the potentials in the country, that we must do the hard work of moving us to a point where we start to change the narrative bit by bit and we move away from promise to progress. But there's absolutely no way you can do that if you're not deepening investment in infrastructure, which is what this precedent is all about, not just within the digital economy, but across board. If you're not investing in your people, it becomes really difficult. If you're also not creating an enabling environment to allow investors to actually continue to invest in the country. And if you look at the nation where we are today, this has been the sole focus of this administration. And that's the same thing we've taken into the digital economy. Understanding that the goal of the president to build a $1 trillion economy can only be achieved if the digital economy actually supports every sector, whether it's in the banking sector, in the education space, or agriculture space. And that's where what you are talking about is important, because when we talk about rural connectivity, sometimes people don't really get it. They think it's just about giving opportunity for those who are in the rural area to connect, which is extremely important, but it's about strengthening our economy. And what we've seen over the years is that conversation, even your question, is now shifted to broadband penetration, not just mobile penetration. Before, we used to strongly measure mobile penetration. Where we see Nigeria tracking, I think we're at about 173 million people now with access, tracking towards 200 million. But that doesn't imply that they have mobile connectivity. And when you think of not just in the rural, even in the urban area, if I challenge you today to think about the calls and how you interact with people, you probably make more calls on WhatsApp than your actual normal voice call on your service. And the implication of that is that is now putting more pressure on internet consumption, because what you want to consume is internet. It's not just the normal telephone services. And that requires investment in infrastructure. So over the years when we came in, we met a sector that has almost been stagnating in terms of investments into that sector, whilst the appetite for consumption has been growing significantly. So that's why the quality of service has been bad, because these companies were clamoring for increase in tariff. If we don't increase tariff and make significant profit, they can't bring back capital investments into the sector. So some of the things we did even before allowing increase in tariff is to reassure them that their investment is going to be protected, to reassure them that the sector is being managed more judiciously, which is why you saw a significant jump between FDI to the sector in 2023 and 2024. So in 2023, I think in Q1, if my numbers are correct off my heart, I think we had about $22 million in 2023 Q1. By 2024, that went up to almost 200 million. Because of the growth they're saying. But the news I have now is that now that we've been able to find a balance to allow them increase slightly and still allow affordability, we have on record that about $1 billion worth of equipment has been ordered by these companies, and they should start to come into the country by the middle of the year. And we're going to see significant progress. But government is not stopping there, to answer your specific question. Okay. The reason why government is not stopping there is that the MNOs will not also invest in areas where they will not make significant return. And that's what you get in the rural area. So what you're seeing in Nigeria is that it's capping to where commercial capital can help. And that's why the president ordered this, not even myself. You know, he called me and said, we must find ways to connect our rural areas, because this is also linked to what you were talking about earlier in terms of security. The bad actors are able to hide in our rural areas because it's difficult to track them. Even when they make their calls, they have ways of making their calls. And what this administration is now doing is that we are investing, the government is investing in 7,000 towers. 7,000 towers in what we call clusters at the minute, where there's no sort of connectivity at all. We're not even talking about internet. There's about 8% of Nigerians in terms of humans that do not have access. In terms of landmass, I think we have close to almost 40% of our areas that are not connected. So the 7,000 towers, most of these clusters are in the north. That's the reality of it. Most of it are in the north. There are a few clusters in the southwest, that is not connected, but the bulk of the clusters are in the north. So almost 80% of these towers will be going towards filling that gap in the north. The rest will now patch up where we have left. And next week, this is not just, I hope we can invite TVC. We're installing the first sample of those towers in a rural area here in Abuja, where there's about 5,000 people, and we've gathered that there's also insecurity there. But these towers are being done differently, not the way the telcos will do their own. Wherever we put them, we use the same infrastructure to serve internet to the local schools, to the local hospital, to the local government, and that's what you're going to see when we launch the first one next week.
Honorable Minister, we'll still come back to you because FCT brief. We'll still have with us in the studio the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. Well,
yeah, Honorable Minister, you were talking about erecting some towers in some rural areas. How is this related to the Project 774 local government connectivity? That's on one side. And this tower, it's an initiative of the federal government. We also have a system where each telecom put on their own infrastructure. Is it not possible you have like a pool so that the costs is reduced? You have a pool, they can all connect to the pool instead of individual. You go to a local area, MTN has it, Airtel has it, and all that. So why is it difficult to have that pool?
So the 7,000 that I spoke about is actually taking that model. So it's not being repeated. So the business model for that is that the MNOs will now connect to those cables. And what you're describing is already a practice anyways. It's not everywhere where you have repeated towers by different MNOs. And we're getting better even in the way that is pushed within the sector. But to what you were saying about Project 774, that's a separate project. Connectivity is an infrastructure play. And there are different ways of delivering connectivity. And I can speak to broadly maybe the three top ones that everybody can understand. The obvious one is the mast that you see, which is what we call towers that you install everywhere. And they have equipment which, of course, allow people to be able to get connected. The other option is the use of satellite, right? Which is why in Nigeria you hear that Starlink is also popular as well. And the third option, which is actually what carries the bulk of connectivity in more advanced markets, is fiber, the cable. So if you truly want to access your reliable, strong form of connectivity, is the cable that you have to use.
Yeah, which brings me to the question of, you recently announced a $2 billion plan to roll out 90,000 kilometer of fiber optic cable across Nigeria. That's quite huge. But considering the past challenges like cable vandalism, theft, and high right-of-way charges, what new strategies are you putting in place to make this project successful? Absolutely,
and that's what I was referring to when I was talking about satellite. So this government is using a multi-pronged approach to deepening our digital infrastructure. The Project 774 is leveraging the fact that Nigeria is the only country in West Africa with its own satellite. So we're using that to beam internet to difficult to reach places, but also local government secretariats. So that's a project that we've been doing. The tower is another set of projects. And the 90,000 kilometers you mentioned is actually how we give Nigerians the quality internet that they want. Our dream is that by the end of this administration, that you start to use internet at home that is based on fiber, not dongles. This is how you get the best internet. For a country with largely young people, we can't prepare them for the future if they don't have access to meaningful connectivity. You see, our skit makers need quality connectivity to be able to engage in their trade. We're a country that is training 3 million technical talent today, and we want these people to be able to work for any company anywhere in the world from Nigeria. They can't do that without meaningful connectivity. That's why we're taking that approach. But we're not stopping there. To your question, this administration has actually done something that the sector has been demanding for years, which is the declaration of telecommunications infrastructure as critical national infrastructure, because that's how you protect them. But guess what? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu last year actually issued the declaration, which is part of why investment in the sector is going up, because confidence is high. Today, if you cut any cable and you get arrested, you're going to face severe hand of law. You know, it's now a proper crime. It's almost that protection is the same protection that you give to military equipment. This is what we're talking about here. So it's not just another one of you're stealing metals on the road. If you cut or tamper with telecommunications infrastructure, you will find yourselves in deep problem. So that's something we put in place. The other thing you mentioned is rights of way. Because we're now making cases to our state on economic implication of deepening digital infrastructure. Since we came into office, in just 2 years, 12 states have declared right of way to be free. Before we came, the conversation was it should be 145 naira. Now it's even totally free. Because 145 naira for what? We want good, meaningful access to all of our people, wherever they find themselves. Why are we charging? You know, why are we charging? So we are truly encouraging that investment. I think what Nigerians will start to see, like everything that this administration has been doing, is a strong focus on foundational faulty infrastructure. You're building the foundational stack to make this country work, and that's what this administration is about.
Okay, we also know that closely related to increase in investment by these telecoms is the fact that, look, they need to make profit.
Yeah,
but you see, when it translates, when the ordinary Nigerian now has this complaint that when you increase tariff because they keep investing, the service delivery kind of is not commensurate. The service delivery is dropping. The practical terms these days, you have more call drops now than you used to have.
I don't think you have it now more than, say, 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have it now more than 6 months ago. But the reality is, have we seen significant improvement? No. We've seen improvement actually, but have we seen significant improvement? No. But the reason for that is that fixing improvement in quality of service, because the challenge we have in Nigeria is growth in users that is not commensurate with the growth in the infrastructure. And infrastructure is not something that you change just overnight. They have to place the equipment. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that we have evidence, right? that our telcos have placed orders of equipment worth over 1 billion. That's not been done in a long time in this country. But those equipment, we're tracking them because we know the OEMs, and we know that they will start to come into the country between June, July, and we expect that by Q3, Nigerians will start to experience significant quality of service. But it's not going to stop there. The investment in the fiber that we're making and the tower that we're making is also part of how we deepen, because we won't leave it to them. Private companies will only put their equipment where they can make, return. If it's not bringing back returns as soon as like 3 to 5 years, it's not viable for them. But government can de-risk that. Government can invest in areas where our people must have the best quality, which is why we're doing these 90,000 kilometers. It's a legacy. If we do it, things will change for Nigeria. It means you can stream your services better. Nigerians from all over the world, of course, you're already doing that, but you can stream it better. It becomes cheaper as well. That's what people don't know. The reason why it's expensive is that we're all buying through this. This should be mobile. It is mobile. It's something you should use when you're on the go. Exactly. The moment you come into your office, you should connect to a Wi-Fi. The moment you get home, you should connect to a Wi-Fi. So imagine if you're at home and you have all you can eat internet that costs you just 10,000 or 15,000 a month.
That would be awesome.
And you don't need to, you know how much some of us spend buying data? That's where we need to go, and without that fiber investment, that's not going to.
So let me just quickly bring this in on this data issue. You know, when it comes to airtime, you don't have validity period. Once I buy my airtime, until I finish the last drop, I keep making calls. But when it gets to data, I'm fixed on either a weekly validity or 1 month. So recently I went there and they said I have 115 gig on the dashboard. I can't use it.
You can't use it.
I paid for it. Why is that system like that?
So this is also one thing that I mandated, and the executive vice chairman of NCC has actually worked on extensively. That's one of the first thing he did when he came into office, which is simplifying packages. Because a lot of the packages you buy sometimes, they come with bonuses. And those bonuses sometimes are what you have that have limitations, but many people don't know. So they tell you if you buy 5K, you get another bonus up. But those bonuses sometimes they tie limitations to it. So what we've done is actually requested that they simplify those bonuses, that the packages are simplified, and that they focus also on education. How well that has been done, I can't speak to it as I'm seated right now, but that's something that NCC has been pushing on really hard, ensuring the packages can be streamlined and better communicated to the people.
Well, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence and also the blockchain. I would like to ask how Nigeria is tapping into this way, because now, you know, we see the dangers, especially with artificial intelligence, and a lot of people are worried of how this would impact their life, their everyday life, and also even their jobs. What is the ministry doing, you know, to maximize the benefit of this important upcoming, will I call it a sector now, and also minimize the risk?
It's one area where I've also tapped into the leadership style of the president, because if you follow the trajectory of AI in this country in the last 2 years, this is one of the things that people have abused me the most on, right? Saying I'm focusing excessively on AI when there are other issues. But to what you've described, this is a phenomenon that we can't shy away from. There's already AI around us, but people don't know that. You already use it on your phone, you use it on your computer, and on so many things. And the danger is that this is a technology that has the potential to control what you think, how you think, and how things are done. And the most dangerous part of AI is also on productivity. AI raises the level of productivity significantly. So for a country like ours that we've been battling productivity in our key sectors, it's going to be dangerous that we don't focus on it, which is why we've been obsessive. Nigeria is actually rated amongst the top 2 countries in Africa when it comes to AI. We developed our strategy, which is dubbed to be one of the best, because we didn't just gather random people, and we're doing the same for blockchain as well. We use artificial intelligence to find the best Nigerians all over the world that are working in AI. That's what we did. So we wrote a model that took all the AI publications in the world, and we have something called a name library that can tell where the name of the authors are from. So we found all the Nigerians, we brought them to Abuja last year, they came up with our strategy. And after coming up with our strategy, we're now a nation that is building, one of the few African countries that is building its own large language model. Large language model is how AI works. by understanding what we already know and what is documented about a people. Our reality is currently not included as much as it should be. Nigeria is improving on that. We've invested in about 55 AI companies in the last 2 years of being in this administration, and I'm going to keep it under wrap. On the 3rd of June, there's going to be a major announcement with a major tech personality here in Abuja, a global tech personality that will come to Abuja on the 3rd, where we're going to announce another initiative to support AI. So in AI, I think randomly we've probably invested close to 6-7 million. But we're going to have another dollars, that is not naira, and we're going to have another announcement on the 3rd of June that we're extremely proud of. At the last UN General Assembly, the UN came up. So when we came into the office, we said we want Nigeria to be amongst the top 25 percentile in AI in the world, and people thought that was almost impossible. At the last UN General Assembly, the UN released the list of top 60 AI countries in the world. And Nigeria was one of those 60 countries. Also, Oxford University has an annual report that they do on artificial intelligence. They rated Nigeria 100% on vision, which is the role of government. The role of government is to ensure that the nation has the vision, provide the enabling environment, and allow the private sector to run. And that's what we're doing. So on artificial intelligence, I can reassure Nigeria that the current government is taking this seriously. We're doing everything we can do. We're having a national AI and robotics center that is extremely active. For the first time in their history, they're now even publishing academic papers for the first time in the history of that institution. So this is a top priority for the ministry under my leadership.
Okay, let's look at using this AI and also an initiative that we just we went through as a nation. That is the name SIM linkages.
Yeah.
Talking about security, how does your ministry intend to deepen the fight against terrorism using this platform?
Absolutely.
Because these people still use their phones, and we've not had situation where we say, okay, we've been able to track these terrorists because they're using this connectivity. So what are you doing to deepen that fight?
I think the last administration's decision to tie NIN to phone registration is a gift to the country. It's something that works, it works really well because we now have over 150 million Nigerians that we can digitally identify. And if you speak to the security operative, this is something that has supported their work tremendously. I've benefited from it. There's been people that have tried to impersonate me by reaching out to other people. Through their NIN, we're able to find them. We're able to find their location. More than one person. And they were arrested. So I can bear testimony to the fact that it works. But the challenge is what I mentioned earlier, and that's why the president sanctioned and demanded that we work on that 7,000 towers. Is that while you can recognize them, there are technologies where these people can still make calls when they hide in areas that are not properly connected. Which is why you see a lot of the bandits are in deeply rural areas, in the bushes. They know what they're doing. It's because connectivity is not reaching this location. So it's an investment that we have to make as a nation, and that's why we keep saying connectivity is no longer about just connecting people to people. It is important for you to drive smart agriculture. If Nigeria is going to realize its potentials in mining, smart mining is the way forward. There are over 500 mines in the world today that are connected to 5G. Right? We cannot secure our borders if we still have so many ungovernable spaces that are not connected. That's why we're making that investment. This is the key driver for that 7,000 towers. That not only do we want to give opportunities to our people living in rural areas, but we also want to ensure that we have the apparatus and the tools to be able to secure those spaces as well.
All right. 2 years into President Tinubu's administration, how well would you rate the progress on youth development, especially in terms of tech?
I think, I'd said, I'm classified as a young person, even though by age, in reality, I'm not. I think I couldn't have asked for a better president to work with, And the reason is, if you look at it very well, this president is focused on human capital development extensively. Okay. It's not just the one under me. If you look at the work that is being done with student loan, it's not something we've had in this country for a long time. Giving opportunity to people, regardless of their background, to be able to pursue their academic goals is something that is important for human capital development. And we latched on his passion for young people. You know, when we came, he said, we must create 1 million technical jobs. How can we do that? We have to train people. That's why we started the 3 million technical talent program, which is the largest talent accelerator in the world. And I always challenge people, any social media of your choice, put in 3MTT, and you see how many young people are benefiting from this program. Every state I travel to, I get met by young participants. I was in Castina and Plateau State yesterday, and at each of the events I attended, there were 3 million technical talent people waiting to receive me. A lot of them talking about the participation they've gained, the opportunities they now have, because we have a lot of support to also put them into jobs. For those that are not ready, there's a program with UNDP that helps us to give them internship. And UNDP pays their salary, so they get to work for people. So there are tons of people benefiting from it. But what I like the most about the way we've approached the program is we're not throwing numbers around. We said this is about people's lives. So let's ensure that we have our facts right. Let's ensure that when we train them, we can also put them on a path to securing jobs. So we started by training 1% when we came in 2023. Last year, we shifted that to 10%. The idea is that so that we can learn what is working and what is not working. Now we're going full scale. And we have the likes of the World Bank that is now saying, let's analyze what's been done so far. What can we learn from it and how do we scale it? The EU is committed over 11 million euros to that program. And that's a program that we've literally run using funding from the private sector. You know, so we're very judicious about the way we're going about it. And lastly on that program is, we've also recognized that there's a huge gap globally for business process outsourcing jobs. These are jobs that used to go to Asia, to India and all those countries. But the world is demanding for more. And you know, Nigerian speaks good English. So we're also launching next week a new program called Talent City. And what we're doing with Talent City is converting existing government buildings into spaces where business process outsourcing can actually hire Nigerians en masse. Because when these foreign companies want to outsource jobs here, the questions they ask to the companies that provide these services is, show us the space. Show us that you can take 100,000 people. And we have the young people. So government is actually going that far. So we're starting with DBI in Lagos because there's a fantastic facility there, but we have to renovate it. I was in Jos yesterday. There's an old building called Standard Building, which is iconic in Jos. We're working with the state government to see how we can mobilize resources to renovate that. And all that is for the young people of Nigeria, because we know that this is the future and government must provide for them.
All right. Honorable Minister, it was a pleasure speaking with you this morning. Very insightful, and it's great work you're doing in the ministry. So we look forward to more.
Thank you.
Thank you.